If you feel stuck doing everything your smartwatch tells you to do, but you're still exhausted, still burnt out, and still stuck with stubborn belly fat, then this is exactly why. I spent a whole 12 weeks tracking every major health marker using 3 of the best fitness trackers in the world, and what I found was genuinely shocking. In this video, I'm going to expose the lies behind the fitness tracker industry, why most men are unknowingly making their metabolism worse by tracking the wrong metrics, and how once you understand the right data, these devices can actually help you burn fat much faster. So if you're done guessing, done winging it, and you want real results instead of more data and more frustration, then let's jump in. Last year, I ran an experiment over 3 months using myself as the guinea pig. I bought 3 of the highest rated fitness trackers on the market. These are the ones everyone recommends, the ones with the best reviews, and the ones men generally trust to guide their health. I used the Garmin Fenix 7, generally regarded as one of the best all-rounders when it comes to health and performance goals, especially for outdoor fitness like running, hiking, or adventure sports. I used the Oura ring, well respected in the health optimization space due to its in-depth reporting on sleep optimization and stress indicators. And finally, I used the Whoop band, the Oura ring's arch rival, which again is highly respected in the health optimization space for its ability to provide a vast array of data across sleep, stress, fitness, and deeper health markers. I call it the Oura ring's arch rival because it seems that you're either a Oura ring guy or a Whoop guy, and I've heard many heated discussions between which is best around health optimization. Anyway, the purpose of my experiment was simple. I wanted to see which device actually provided the most useful and accurate data for real-world fat loss and energy, and not just pretty charts and useless data. And for 3 months, I wore all 3 of them. I tracked everything and I lived normally. I trained hard, focused on sleep like I usually do, ate my normal diet, and did my best to control my stress. Nothing different to what I would usually do. The only thing I did different was keep a log of real-world health markers and biofeedback every day so that I had real-world information to compare against the data from the fitness trackers. With the trackers, I didn't just look at steps or calories. I tracked resting heart rate, blood pressure, sleep quality, recovery, and daily energy expenditure. With my own biofeedback, I paid attention to symptoms, brain fog, motivation, midday crashes, morning readiness, and every single day I checked in with how I actually felt inside my body. Always taking note of when I felt a certain way, whether I was feeling good or whether I was feeling a little bit lower. Because the reality is, numbers mean nothing if they do not match reality. I also compared the data across all 3 trackers to see where they agreed, where they conflicted, and where they clearly missed the mark altogether. I used my own personal testing as the baseline and then compared the data from each fitness tracker against that. Understanding that my own testing is also going to be flawed in many ways, and there's no real way to know indefinitely which is the most accurate. But this is where it gets truly shocking. Across the 4 data sets, the differences in almost every single marker were staggering. My Garmin gave me an average daily step count of 11,457 steps over the weeks. My Whoop, however, gave me 13,355, and my Oura ring gave me even higher at 14,011. This shows a more than 2,500 step difference average daily between the various fitness trackers. Over 12 weeks, that is a huge difference. But it gets worse. Let's look at calories burned. My Garmin stated that my average calorie burn was around 3,304. My Whoop stated that it was 2,986, and my Oura ring was as high as 3,630. Again, a monumental 600 plus calories difference between 2 of the trackers. So you can imagine why men will often struggle to lose weight while basing their calorie intake off what their fitness tracker tells them. The reality is they have no real way of knowing if it's even close to being accurate. But there's more. Through testing resting heart rate, there was a 19% difference between data sets against my own testing with a chest-based heart rate monitor. During training, the differences in heart rate were not even comparable as they were so wildly different. And we saw similar differences between markers such as blood pressure, sleep quality, HRV, and VO2 max when comparing data sets from the different wearables and, where possible, my own testing. And when it came to comparing symptoms against what the data from the fitness trackers said, it would often be even more confusing, with certain devices sometimes stating that I had poor quality quality sleep, while others suggesting I had a near perfect score, and vice versa. All the while, how I actually felt in terms of energy, drive, and sharpness in the mornings often didn't relate to some of the data in any way, shape, or form. In short, fitness trackers lie. How much they lie is really quite difficult to know, but a lot of the literature shows that the differences can be huge for certain health markers while relatively close for others when compared with medical grade testing. But this video isn't here to create a hate campaign towards fitness trackers. I'm honestly a huge proponent of using them to support our health goals, as long as we appreciate them for what they really are. And what they really are is imperfect. But once you know which markers do matter and you know how to use them to drive daily actions, then these devices can be absolutely game-changing when it comes to losing fat, building muscle, and feeling your absolute best day in and day out. And if you've been patient enough to follow along this far, then you deserve to know exactly how you're going to use whichever tracker you have to get success with your goals this year. So let's dive in. The first thing you need to understand is this: all data provided by fitness trackers is inaccurate to some degree, and that is completely fine. The mistake most men make is getting hung up on precision instead of usefulness. We're not trying to turn your smartwatch into a medical device. We are simply using it as a feedback system. What matters is not whether the number is perfect. What matters is that it is consistent. We want variables, we want baselines, we want trends over time. That is how real progress is made. If the data moves in the right direction and you feel better in your body, it's doing the job. This applies to every marker we are about to talk about. Let's look at health marker number 1, step count. Step count is the foundation, not because steps magically burn fat, but because regular movement is crucial for overall health, and they also drive up metabolism while regulating stress levels. Daily walking improves insulin sensitivity, it lowers baseline cortisol, it increases calorie usage without making you super tired or giving you hunger spikes, which for men over 35 is critical. Now, here is the key. If you set a target of, let's say, 10,000 steps, whether you are actually hitting 10,000 steps in reality does not matter. What matters is consistency. Steps give you a daily movement baseline. They give you a low stress fat loss lever. They are a progression tool when fat loss stalls, because when things plateau, you do not want to add in another brutal workout. You want to add in 1,000 or 2,000 more steps per day and then reassess. Steps should feel sustainable, repeatable, and admittedly a tad boring. That is how they work. Based off the literature, roughly 7,300 steps daily is the target to maintain health. Below this, we start to see certain complications, but this number could be pushed way higher depending on your goals and your lifestyle. And the good thing is, it takes a lot of steps for it to become detrimental towards recovery. Let's go back inside. Health marker number 2, sleep duration and consistency. Sleep is king. In many ways, it is the most important health marker. When sleep is inconsistent or short, everything breaks down. Insulin resistance increases, testosterone drops, and fat storage rises, especially around the gut. In short, you start feeling like shit, and this makes everything much harder. Wearables like the 3 I've just mentioned are actually quite good at tracking sleep duration and sleep timing. They are not perfect at tracking sleep stages, but for our purposes, that does not matter too much. What we want is consistent bedtimes, consistent wake times, and adequate total sleep at a minimum of 7 hours per night. You then compare the data to how you feel. How's your energy in the morning? Do you crash mid-afternoon? How is motivation and mental clarity? When sleep improves, energy, motivation, and performance all improve with it. Sleep data should always be cross-checked with real-world feeling. That combination is super powerful. Health marker number 3, resting heart rate. Resting heart rate is one of the most useful metrics you have. It is not always perfect, but it is one of the more reliable wearable markers. Resting heart rate reflects cardiovascular efficiency, nervous system stress, recovery status. When resting heart rate is trending upward, stress load is typically very high. That stress might come from things like too much training, too little sleep, work pressure, under eating, chronic caffeine use. For men today, this matters more than almost anything because we are exposed to more stress than ever before. A lower, stable resting heart rate usually means better recovery, better metabolic health, better fat loss potential, and you're just going to feel a hell of a lot better because it shows that your body is just functioning much more efficiently all round. If resting heart rate is elevated chronically, everything becomes compromised. Your goal is to reduce this marker over time to somewhere between 50 and 60 BPM through working on your stress, controlling inflammation, and developing your cardiovascular health. Health marker number 4, HRV or heart rate variability. HRV is one of my favorite markers, even though it is often misunderstood and sometimes inaccurate depending on the device. HRV measures the variation in time between heartbeats. High HRV generally means strong parasympathetic nervous system, good recovery, and lower stress load. Low HRV usually means chronic stress, poor recovery, and a nervous system stuck in fight or flight. HRV is generally going to be impacted by things like sleep quality, training volume, psychological stress, alcohol, nutrition, and even breathing patterns. There is no single perfect HRV number. What matters is your personal baseline and trend. Improving HRV usually comes from things like improving your sleep consistency and quality, more zone 2 cardio, fewer high intensity sessions, breath work, and other methods of relieving stress, as well as things like reducing late night stimulation from TVs and other devices, and even direct vagus nerve stimulation. HRV is not a score to chase, it is a signal to respect. In an ideal world, you want to aim to push your HRV over 80 milliseconds as this is optimal. Health marker number 5, active heart rate. This is where most trackers completely fall apart. Wrist-worn devices and rings are wildly inaccurate during exercise when it comes to heart rate. Movement, sweat, grip, tension, and arm position all distort readings. If you actually want accurate heart rate data during training, you need a chest strap heart rate monitor connected to your device. This matters because heart rate zones are super useful for optimizing for certain goals. For example, zone 2, which is between 60 and 70% of your max heart rate, is where fat burning is most efficient. So sitting in this zone for 60 plus minutes per week minimum will do wonders here. Higher zones above 70 plus improve VO2 max and performance, and they improve metabolic flexibility. But it's also important to note that they also increase stress load. So moderation is key here with these higher intensity workouts. This is why doing endless running or HIIT workouts often hinders results because the body just cannot cope with the demand, and men will often hit a wall way before they get the result. Understanding when you are truly in each individual zone allows you to become much more efficient at achieving certain outcomes. This is how you optimize fat loss while maintaining performance and avoiding burnout. The key thing to understand here is that none of these markers work in isolation. They work as part of the system. Steps expend energy and help manage daily stress. Sleep enables hormones and recovery. Resting heart rate and HRV tell you if the system is overloaded or how efficient your body is. An active heart rate guides how you train for peak performance and results. You are not chasing perfect data with any of these devices, and you are not allowing yourself to get emotional over the numbers. You are simply using the information to drive more efficient and consistent action. And once you understand that, your wearable becomes a weapon instead of just useless numbers on a screen. One final thing. The one marker you should never pay attention to on any fitness tracker is the calories burned metric. It is easily the most inaccurate and useless marker, and if you allow it to dictate decisions with your food and movement for that matter, it will almost certainly affect the rate of results that you see. So to conclude, fitness devices like the ones mentioned here are incredible tools when you know how to use them and what data actually matters versus the data that doesn't. Which one you choose is really down to personal preference and which best suits you. There are many pros and cons to each one. The important thing is that if you're using one, you don't get emotionally attached to the numbers. You just use them as a variable to progress and work on. And more importantly, you always need to factor in how you actually feel in spite of what the data says. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video valuable. If you did, please hit subscribe as I share videos just like this every single week on men's health. And if you want to dig deeper right now, then head over to my next video on how to eliminate visceral fat in just 30 days using a simple framework anyone can do. See you there.